Shalom, all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Harakah, Kadash. Double honors unto the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well, and shalom to the hopeful elect. This is prophecy and news, dealing with the prophecies written inside of the Bible, right, being filtered, the news being filtered through the prophecies of the Bible, okay, because we're instructed by Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Harakah, Kadash, to watch as well as pray for the salvation of the so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans, who are the true children of Israel, all right, the biblical Hebrew Israelites of the Bible, all right. So now this is from the Express, all right, and the title reads, Coronavirus Stimulation resulted in the deaths of 65 million people, okay. Now this, I actually did a video on this yesterday, commentary on the video, and the article actually had, I believe I closed the tab, and you know, so I had to go and find the next best thing, or the first thing I more or less just come across, and I'm just gonna delve into the same points that I've come across through the course of this video. So it says a simulation of the coronavirus outbreak from last year predicted the virus similar to the current outbreak could result in up to 65 million deaths. Coronavirus is rapidly spreading around the globe, with 17,485 confirmed cases. See, all these different numbers are conflicting. Okay, actually no, sorry, it's actually more recently they said 40,000. So this is from February 3rd, and it's presently today. I believe it's the 10th of February or the 11th. Coronavirus, so reading on, it says, with this number set to rise drastically in the coming weeks, a total of 362 people have lost their lives as a result of the infection, with the disease having a fatality rate of 4%, all right, according to the experts from the University of Kent. And a more recent article I read, it says it had a mortality rate of 1%, right? However, if a recent simulation which analysed the outbreak of a coronavirus is anything to go by, that number could spiral upwards rapidly, okay? In October, because basically in the video they said it started off slow, but within 6 months it killed the outrageous amount of people. In October 2019, a joint collaboration between the Johns Hopkins Center for Health Security, the World Economic Forum, and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation hosted an event called Event 201. All right. In the event, medical experts were asked to run a simulation which analyzed the potential threat of a coronavirus, a group of viruses which include the likes of severe acute respiratory syndrome, SARS, and Middle East respiratory syndrome, MERS. All right. The simulation aerially mirrored the current outbreak known as the 2019 NCOV, with farmers in Brazil catching the virus from pigs. All right. In the real outbreak, the virus was transferred from animals to humans from a seafood market in Wuhan, China, it is believed. The Event 201 website stated Event 201 was a 3.5-hour pandemic tabletop exercise that simulated a series of dramatic scenario-based facilitated discussions confronting difficult, true-to-life dilemmas associated with response to a hypothetical but scientifically plausible pandemic. At the end of the 3 hours, 65 million people died in the simulation as the experts struggled to create a cure in time. Okay? And the doctor that was in it seemed like a Nigerian doctor. He basically was saying that, look, they've never been able to make a vaccine for SARS or none of these previous outbreaks. And another article I previously done a video on, they basically said, there's one guy that said he would love to make a vaccine for this present outbreak of coronavirus, because they said they've never been able to make any kind of vaccination for any of these kind of respiratory infections, and he said he just wants to do it just to have it there, just to do it. Okay, so he mentioned in the video. I'm trying to remember what he said. What did he say in the video? He basically said that man, it escapes me. There was one key point he said, but I'll probably write in the comment wall, or if the spirit, if it ain't meant to come out, it ain't meant to come out. But anyway, to ease minds, John Hopkins released a statement stating that the simulation was not a copy of the current virus, but the similarities remain. Right, so they even acknowledge that there's similarities between it, but they're different. All right, I mean, sorry, that it's different, but there is still some similarities within it. And let's remember the convenience of it all. This happened 18th of October is when it took place in New York. All right, but then guess what? 3 or so months later, you have the coronavirus outbreak, like on the 30th of January. Right? Tell me that ain't a coincidence. Right after they done all their research and put everything together, they've now had a test run, and the simulation is playing out as it did this outbreak is playing out as it did in the simulation. The new statement from John Hopkins said in October 2019, the John Hopkins Center for Health Security hosted a pandemic tabletop exercise called Event 201 with partners, the World Economic Forum, and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Recently, the Center for Health Security has received questions about whether that pandemic exercise predicted the current novel coronavirus outbreak in China. To be clear, the Center for Health Security and the partners did not make a prediction during our tabletop exercise. All right. For the scenario, we modeled a fictional coronavirus pandemic, but we explicitly stated that it was not a prediction. Instead, the exercise served to highlight preparedness and response challenges that would likely arise in a very severe pandemic. Now, this is the thing with the elites. These things are for those in the know. You can go and watch this video of the whole event they're talking about on YouTube. All right, Lord willing, if they allow me, because the video I've done, they won't allow me to upload it. All right, so I guess they got tabs on that said video already in place where you can't do nothing upon it, or the spirit just won't allow it to be uploaded. But anyway, the point being is that this is for those in the know. The channel in particular had only, just about over 2,000 subscribers. The video had about 250,000 views. It's not really something that's well out there to the public, even though it's right under their noses. But it's for those in the know, the elites of this society. All right, and we being the elites on the right hand side is for this is for our knowledge as well, for how they tend to basically make this what they tend to do when a pandemic, a pestilence breaks out among the people. All right, we are not now predicting that the nCoV 2019 outbreak will kill 65 million people, although our tabletop exercise, including the mock novel coronavirus, the inputs we use for modeling the potential impact of the fictional virus are not similar to nCoV 2019. Nonetheless, the advice given by John Hopkins Center of Health Security, World Economic Forum, and Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation in the event of the outbreak remains true. All right? So all of these factors remain true. They propose the following: governments, international organizations, and businesses should plan now for how essential corporate capabilities will be utilized during a large-scale pandemic. Okay, and really, actually, let me read through them, because I know certain points I want to bring out, but let me read through them. Industry, national governments, and international organizations should work together to enhance internationally held stockpiles of medical countermeasures to enable rapid and equitable distribution during a severe pandemic. Countries, international organizations, and global transportation companies should work together to maintain travel and trade during severe pandemics. All right. Government should provide more resources and support for the development and surgeon manufacturing vaccines, therapeutics, and diagnostics that will be needed during a severe pandemic. Global businesses should recognize the economic burden of pandemics and fight for stronger preparedness. International organizations should prioritize reducing economic impacts and epidemics and pandemics. Yeah, see, they miss all the. See, I ain't even gonna read these points because the points they mentioned don't mean ish, basically. Now, the key points that they said in the video, one of them being that they said that they're gonna use businesses, resources, and intel to basically help the government distribute vaccinations among the people. Okay, and remember, just for some clarity and contrast, when they said businesses, banks fall underneath a business. Because remember, one of the people at the group, it was hosted by John Hopkins Center of Health Security. We have the World Economic Forum at the heart of it. All right. Now, the bankers, when they came into power, what did they do? They basically took over the monarchs that had total control of their countries and said, look, we'll lend you the money you need, all right, as long as you give us control of distribution of your currency. And that's what they did. So they were paying a premium of 1% interest or whatever number of interest to the bankers to receive money from them, okay, loans from them. So guess what? That statement that give me whoever, I care not who makes the laws, give me control of a nation's money and I care not who makes the laws. Okay, because basically they're in control because they have control over the money. So that's one point. The fact that you have banks at the helm dealing with the distribution of income and businesses at the helm of distribution of the vaccines, that's taken away from the power of the government. And now it becomes an agenda, part of the agenda of the elites. Okay, the other point being is that they said financially that they were going through these people didn't even mention no points, man. They dealt with, okay, what would be a proposed way of dealing with the financial. They're talking about the economic market will take a great downturn and they'll need to have a technological. Well, they said they need to have some contingent in place. And the woman basically said that she basically said something to if didn't agree with them, something the guy said, but she basically said we should take a technological stance with the finances, all right? And what's the only technological stance you can take with the finances? It'll be the RFID chip, which conveniently sits well alongside the vaccinations, right, which also are capable of being secreted from RFID chips, all right? Another point they mentioned was the US CDC mentioned that the best way to deal with the people is to take a martial. No, he didn't say martial. The other guy said martial. He said a war. He said war something. He said like basically like a war type of. I can't remember the word he said, man, but it was like a war kind of stance, where basically it's like he said martial law without saying martial law. That's what he basically said. Another guy said to follow up with the same thing and said take a martial approach. And he even said, I don't want it to sound like that. But they basically were saying that, look, implement martial law. That's the best way to keep tabs on the people. Then they also said about the internet coming into play. All right. And they basically said that they need to. One guy said that we need to establish, basically do. They said that he said that look, now these different mediums, for example, like Instagram, YouTube being the main one, and Twitter, they're no longer going to be able to sit on a fence and be like, well, we're a technology company. No, you're going to be determined as a broadcasting company, which we know over in America, 90% of media is controlled by 6 big businesses, all right, big firms. Whereas back in the 80s, you had about 50 different firms that had control over the media, all right? So now you have these 6 companies have control over it. So now they'd say that if you want to use the internet, it would have to be regulated alongside those sort of companies. But the woman came in and basically said, no, I don't think that would be a good idea, but that basically we should give these said companies the stamp to say this is where you get your real news from. All right. So ultimately, what they were saying is that with the internet, they'd want to suspend the use of the internet. So those are like the key points with the outbreak of this pandemic. It's the leaps and the prophecy of the pestilence outbreaking is taking place as well, but this is also bringing us closer to the key prophecy of the RFID chip being implemented, which will lead to World War III, which will lead to the appearance of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai upon the earth, man. So I'm just gonna hit a few precepts. Okay. This is Matthew 26 and 41. Watch and pray, take that ye enter not into temptation. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak. Alright? So we're to watch and will and pray that we don't fall into temptation. If you have people in this time, okay, this ain't even nothing, man. But I've had various people that basically are saying, look, this is serious. They're, this is not even the beginning of sorrows, okay? You have people prepared to throw away their rights for the vaccine, basically. Because ultimately, all roads lead to the RFID chip. So this is Revelation 13 and 16. And he calls of all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell save he that have the mark or the name of the beast of the number of his name. All right, and that also goes into the technological advancement, because they said now they're saying economic markets will destabilize, and that's why they said they'll need a technological contingent in place, which is obviously the only technological contingent in place will be the RFID chip. So you won't be able to buy, first off, you won't be allowed to enter into society unless you have the vaccine, and you've been given you've been green lighted into going into the general population of society. Then on top of that, they're gonna monitor you, your biometrics, keep tabs on you, and then if you want to utilize any of that currency, any payments or whatever, they're going to keep track of that as well, and they're going to do it by RFID chip. Because even they say with money is like paper money. Cash is a big way to transfer germs, man. So they can suspend that and say, look,